Hey everyone! According to Bloomberg, EA has cancelled an unannounced Titanfall game in development at Respawn Entertainment, rumored to be an extraction shooter. The cancellation comes amid company-wide layoffs affecting around 300 to 400 employees, including staff at Respawn, and we are here to talk about it.
Yeah, Titanfall. I'm not sure what to think of the fact that it was going to be an extraction shooter.
I think we might have dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, I'm actually sorry for saying it, but I think I'm kind of glad that we're not getting a Titanfall extraction shooter. I mean, I have to kind of come out of the closet here. I am tired of extraction shooters, particularly with the amount of extraction shooters that have been pushed down our throats the last 2 years. I don't think I can take another one of them, even if it was going to be in the Titanfall universe, because let's be clear here, I like Titanfall. It's a really cool genre, cool aesthetic, and it was, I feel, the shooter that really popularized the more advanced movement, to be honest. It was before Call of Duty started copying that kind of movement, and it has the right to be something different, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of skill involved.
There
was a lot of skill involved with moving around in Titanfall. I remember that tutorial mission. Is that not like the tutorial mission in Titanfall 2? Is that not a benchmark for like speed running and that kind of thing? It's that's a really cool level, and I've seen all kinds of freakishly amazing things being pulled off within that.
Yeah, I remember it quite fondly, even though it's a little hazy in my memory because I think I played it only once. And of course, it's been a while, right? It was October 2016 that Titanfall 2 was released. So yeah, we're almost 10 years away from that by now.
That's funny because I feel like that game still looks incredibly modern. And the campaign, the single-player campaign, was just so varied in its designs that it just feels like it's still kind of the benchmark for a compact shooter campaign within a game that is primarily focused around multiplayer. Like, I would say it is probably almost as good as Crysis in that regard.
Oh yeah. I think Titanfall has one really great thing going for it that informs everything else, which is kind of the dichotomy of the two things that are part of the gameplay, right? One, you play as a pilot, which is kind of standard-ish shooter with some extra movement mechanics tacked on. And then once you get into the mech, then, of course, there's a whole other set of things going on, right? That changes up the gameplay completely. And I think that is an extremely strong premise, both in single-player and in multiplayer.
And I feel like it's once again one of the scenarios where a big corporation does not understand what players want. Because obviously Titanfall 2 was beloved and is discussed so much, not because of its fairly middle-of-the-road generic multiplayer mode, but because of the campaign. Whenever you see discourse around Titanfall 2, everybody talks about the campaign. Nobody talks about the multiplayer. Nobody talks about Titanfall 1. But here's a company that yet again thinks they know what players want, but they're not listening to our voices. So I think people have been absolutely yearning for a continuation of the Titanfall in a single-player sense. Like, imagine you would scale that up not to a 5-hour campaign, but to a 12-hour campaign, and with the increased production value of whatever current day developments and tech are capable of. I think there was so much potential untapped. And then you could have tacked on multiplayer mode that draws inspiration from like the Apex franchise, and that combination could have potentially made for a really, really killer game.
Yeah, this reeks of, sorry EA, but this is just corporate bullcrap for me. I mean, I can understand why they decided to go this way if I try to think like them, right? Because, well, what was the biggest extraction shooter? Is the biggest extraction shooter maybe still Escape from Tarkov? Very popular and the creator of that genre. But it kind of went down the drain the last two and a half years because Tarkov is plagued by cheaters and they're not doing too much about it. So the only other well-known, well-received extraction shooter that I know of is Hunt Showdown, which is still very popular, released a couple of years ago, still a fantastic game. But then because of the kind of void that Tarkov left, because a lot of the players left Tarkov because of the cheating problem, then a lot of companies were like, well, there's a void now, right? People like extraction shooters. People maybe want to play that. The original is not that popular anymore. Let's do one as well. So then you got all the copiers like Delta Force with the extraction mode, Arc Raiders now, which is now super big, Gray Zone Warfare, Marauders did a space version of extraction shooter. Vigor was another kind of DayZ-ish kind of setting.
You might be
still with
speaking a
extraction
different
shooter.
language at this point. I've never even heard of these things. It's just not for me, these types of games.
Yeah.
I'm not a very
I've played
competitive
some
player.
of them, but I'm just not so sure whether I just want to play the same game over and over again, just with a different setting. And I'm surely not looking forward to having Titanfall generalized by extraction shooter mechanics, because that's just going to overshadow everything else that made Titanfall great. And no.
This is once
I think
again
we
one of
kind have
those
to be happy.
scenarios where a corporation is whittling down a great and talented studio. These guys, Respawn, have been responsible for Titanfall, Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, which is incredibly well received. Jedi Fallen Order, we talked about that game at various points in our short-lived podcasting career. That game was absolutely fantastic. Jedi Survivor was also rock solid, especially in terms of gameplay. These guys have got it figured out. And it would be an absolute shame if this seemingly talented studio is run into the ground by another seemingly incompetent corporation making the big decisions.
Let me just look deeply into the camera now and speak to EA itself. EA, stop making studios design and create things that they're not good at.
Oh, yes.
Play to their strengths. Don't start having them create some kind of nonsensical drivel or something like that. Use what they're good at.
Yes. And that shall be the final word on this. Shall we leave it at that?
Let's leave it at that.
That's the best moment
Doesn't
to
need
stop.
any more than that.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. Keep subscribing, keep commenting, keep liking, and we're going to be back with more news. Bye-bye.
Bye.